Hajime! Welcome back to Comic-Jutsu. JT McRoberts here, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to have a Friday night 8 p.m. live stream, so let's get it rolling. This is going to be very informal. It's just another type of vlog that I'm experimenting with, and I'm basically just going to walk you through a bunch of random stuff that I came across today, maybe some news tidbits, or maybe I'll just show some of my nice comic scores from this week. This past week I did get a nice copy of Jack Kirby's adaptation of 2001 A Space Odyssey. Check that bad boy out. And they sent it to me in this really nice holder so I can set it up, and it kind of displays it properly. I'll hold it still for you there for a second so you can get a good view of that. Very nice, treasury size. For a long time I've had the actual several issues of the series, though my copy of Machine Man's first appearance, or X51, whatever he was called originally, in 2001, number 8, was destroyed a long time ago in the Great Fire. I don't know if you are it's possible this has happened to you. If you are a long-time comic book collector, fan, reader, geek, all of those things, if you did it in your younger days and you obsessed over comic books, your parents or your family may have taken exception to it at some point. With me, I had some bad grades come in from school, so my parents burned my collection. Can you believe that? All I was able to save was like one little shoebox that I just grabbed and threw in the closet where they couldn't find it. Burned my collection, so I lost a lot of gems like Secret Wars 8, stuff like that. I was able to get Amazing Spider-Man 300 into the box though, so I still have that copy to this day. But anyway, enough about reminiscing about my past. Let's talk about some of the stuff going on. Blue Beetle is coming out. Early reviews say it's a fun surprise. I'm not in a rush to go see it, though I will say I thought Shazam was a fun surprise. I had no interest in the sequel because to me it was kind of stupid at this point to release a Shazam sequel and a separate Black Adam film. Like, The Rock really screwed over the producers of Shazam. If he had just been a part of Shazam 2, The Fury of Black Adam, it could have been a great film, but he's an idiot. Honestly, there's no other way to say it. You can't take a villain and then try to present him as an anti-hero. No, he's an anti-hero. No, he's a freaking villain, and he's Shazam's villain, and you hurt both franchises, and that's why your film tanked. Nobody cares about it, and you're moving on to other things. But anyway, I don't really like bad-mouthing everybody. We can talk about The Rock, because that was a boneheaded move. For the most part, Comic-Jutsu, I try to be positive. I came up with a little credo. I had it written down somewhere. Something about being true in our reviews, but not focusing on hate, but not denying any comic their actual fate. So if it really was bad and it turned out to be bad over time, we're not afraid to come out and say it ahead of time. Now I say we, but we is really me, JT McRoberts, producer, writer, illustrator, all of those things. From time to time I will have special guest hosts with me, such as Phil K, who is the sensei at the local jiu-jitsu school, the Helson Gracie Jiu-Jitsu school here in North Kakalaki, and he comes in and helps me break down some of the Comic Book Dojo episodes, which I am really proud of, but they are some of the lowest drawing videos on the channel. I mean, some of them will get a few hits, but I'm trying to just keep trudging forward, creating those works, doing the analysis, putting them out there, and then hopefully people will slowly discover them and enjoy them, and then realize that there are many more on there, because so far we've broken down a lot of classic characters. The first appearance of Captain America, breaking down the fighting stuff that Jack Kirby put into it, or like Neil Adams' Batman, looking at his great fight sequences, or like the first appearance of Shang-Chi, first appearance of Iron Fist. This week I released a Comic Book Dojo breakdown of Kato #1, which is basically a Bruce Lee type episode, because it's Bruce Lee as Kato, famously the Green Hornet was known as the Kato Show in China and Hong Kong, and that's why he was really popular over there. And he was able to go to Hong Kong and launch his movie career by making martial arts films over there. And if you're into Bruce Lee and kung fu movies and stuff, you should check out the Kato series. It's actually really cool. It's like a little Bruce Lee movie. I mean, it really is. It's pretty neat. One interesting thing I came across this week, it was pointed out by a very revered collector and historian in comics known as Bob Beerbum. He probably doesn't mind me saying that, but he pointed out an article that was posted, How Stan Lee Drove Bernie Wrightson Away from Marvel. I had no idea that this had actually happened. But apparently at one time, Bernie was doing work for Marvel in the 70s, and this particular story, it was a King Cole story, okay? He drew it. He's credited as the artist. So, he drew it, inked it, and he even colored it. But when he submitted it, they changed his coloring. They didn't follow his color design. He had originally designed it to start with colors and to slowly fade the colors out in a really systematic way to the end to show this effect that was happening. The story is called The Skull of Silence. It's a King Cole story. But they published it, and they didn't follow his coloring guides at all. They just recolored it and colored it poorly. And then Roy Thomas thought it would be a good idea to just reprint it in black and white. He said they didn't even print it from his original work. Like, there were zips and duotone and things that were lost, like actual details that were lost. Can you believe that? So after that, he quit. He went to DC and started working for DC, helped create Swamp Thing. The rest is history. I am looking at the pages. If you want to check that out, I recommend going to CBR. I'm not here to promote them. Screw those guys. They'll never they'll never publish a single review of anything I ever create from now to the end of time. So F them if they're not going to sponsor the show. But if you want to see this article and see the artwork and read about Bernie Wrightson and how this happened, and they misspelled his darn name on it. It's B-R-N-I, no E at the end. How Stan Lee Drove Bernie Wrightson Away from Marvel. Pretty interesting stuff. Some other cool things. Somebody posted in one of the Facebook groups I go to an article by Ann Nocenti, who famously wrote Daredevil. Did you see that? I caught the fly that was flying around. If I only had chopsticks. But Ann Nocenti wrote Daredevil in the mid to late 80s, taking over after Frank Miller. Now there's a thankless task, How do you follow up one of the all-time great runs? Well, you make another all-time great run. Her run with John Romita Jr. was really solid. Though at the time, it became so esoteric, I couldn't get into it. It confused me, so it lost me. As Jeff Jarrett recently said, that's one of the axioms in wrestling. If you confuse them, you lose them. So you have to remember that sometimes. And when I was younger, it kind of confused me. But I've been able to go back and revisit it, and I actually love it. So she wrote a piece in the New York Times. In these times, December 4th, 1990, Life in the U.S., an article on crime. Community patrols walk... I'm getting tongue-tied. Community patrols walk on the wild side. And it's about the various vigilante groups in New York City. Pink Panthers, Guardian Angels, V-Cops, so on and so forth. So that's pretty interesting. That's posted on there. I'm going to read a little bit deeper into it. There's another interesting post by Colleen Doran that she posted yesterday where she said people have been asking her to comment on Comics Broke Me, and I have too much going on at the moment to deep dive into that, and I really don't want to anyway, so I'm going to keep this short. And I don't want to read her entire thing here. You can find Colleen on Facebook or X Twitter or whatever the heck it's called, and she's probably on Threads and whatever now too. Well, she says, the comics industry is tough, and I spent years blogging about the realities of it until I got fried, and now I don't do that anymore. There's a big lesson for you right there. Don't waste a lot of time doing something that you think is going to attract views, because the internet is a mess. You know, you have to do it at a pace that you can maintain, that does not burn you out. And if you're going to make content like a blog, you know, we're not talking about actual art like a comic or a story or a film or a short film or, you know, something to that effect, or a skit even. If you're just making content, you know, like the kids nowadays who need to discover their art, you know, you can get burned out on it. I mean, that's a whole crapshoot. You have to deal with bots. You have to deal with changing algorithms. You know, you try to get your what you've created out to people so that they see it. So you just have to create enough that it's there when people want to know about you and they discover you and they want to know more, and they can go and they can find your blog or your website or wherever your works are listed. But anyway, you can write the same thing 1,000 times and it will never get through to people. I would rather be writing and drawing comics than blogging. The comics industry can be pretty nasty, unfair, and brutal place with predatory contracts everywhere, and people get into the arts with incredibly unrealistic expectations and are probably never going to do well regardless of how this industry conducts business, because they think their dreams will pay off. Everyone wants their dreams to come true, and not everyone gets that. There are terrible clients, and there are people who spend years doing webcomics wondering why they are not rich and famous yet, demanding that people support the arts, in quotes, while being unaware that supporting the arts means the public gets to choose, and sometimes they don't choose you. That is a great point. You know, on a lot of the comic-centric forums, or even like in like the horror community and stuff, there's this kind of a sham community, you know, like we're all one, and we're not all one. We're not. People do not agree on the things that they like. Something that I might see as total pablum and crap, like I'll say Blue Beetle, though I haven't seen it, I'm not, you know, speaking ill of it, but as an example, like I might think it's crap, somebody else might think it's, you know, the second coming of Stanley Kubrick in superhero films, you know, that sort of thing. You know, so there is no team comics, man. Don't think that there is. The onus is on you, the creator. You have to make something that people want to read, that people want to look at, that people want to experience and be touched by, and it's up to you to put that out there. Okay, back to Colleen. People expect page rates from print publishers while they get absolutely nothing on webcomics platforms and don't think twice about it. The entire business model is built on people desperate to be seen at any cost, just like print publishing. I wish everyone the very best of luck. I hope your art returns to you everything you hope it will. So yeah, there you go. Like I always say, you have to do it for the love. Just like, you know, sometimes I'll make an offhand comment about Comic-Jutsu not drawing any sort of views as yet, but it's part of my routine. It's part of building this brand. I'm trying to do it at a pace where I don't burn myself out, where I'm like, I just can't do anything anymore. And I'm making this as content, okay? It has nothing to do with art, but it is a way that you present yourself to the internet, and we are in the digital age. Everything runs through and from and back to the internet. So if someone is curious about my work, they found something else, or maybe they watched Tales from Mutaville somewhere and they want to find out what I'm up to, and they come and they search out my blog, and they come and find JT McRoberts, and they're like, oh, okay, well, he's working on his graphic novel now. Let me check that out. Hey, look at these cool videos he's put up. I'll watch these as well. When's your graphic novel coming out? Maybe I'll pick it up. So there you go. But the onus is on you. There is no team comics. There's no horror community. There's a bunch of people that like horror, but they all disagree on it. Like if you don't believe me, wait until you run into somebody who's trying to tell you that like Irreversible is the greatest horror film ever, versus the people that are like, oh well, no, it's not. It's Spookies. You know, you got two totally different opposite ends of the spectrum. You know, you kind of use the example of Kubrick as the like high art horror, like The Shining type thing, versus Trauma. You know, the lowbrow, lowest of the low, fart dick jokes, boobs all day long. You know, those are the opposite ends of the spectrum, and they both have their fans, and the fans of one might not be fans of the other, and nobody owes you patronage, so you got to give them something that they want. I did come across a cool looking graphic novel called Moonray. I was trying to configure my OBS so I could show you my screen, but I've screwed it up right now. I can't flip to my screen view without losing my audio. So Moonray, if you want to check it out. It is a science fantasy epic by Brandon Graham and Xurxo G. Penalta, Xurxo. I don't know who that is, but it looks really cool. Just looking at the solicitation online. Gloriously epic, exploding sci-fi fantasy world daydreams. Quote from Mike Allred. The art looks really neat. I mean, it kind of gives me that a little bit of that heavy metal vibe. Here's another quote from J.H. Williams III. A heady, rich stew of psychedelic science fiction. Jeff Darrow, stunning tour de force of imagination and execution. Wow. So there you go. Moonray. Sounds cool. It looks cool to me. I'm probably going to pick it up. Maybe you will too. Give it a Google. Oh, and my other big score for this week was I was able to get a copy of Michael Golden's Marvel Stories Artist's Edition. Yes. You know, I was going back and forth on whether or not to get that, and as soon as it came out, it is completely sold out from IDW, to the point where I would not be surprised if they went ahead and did a second printing of it. I wound up having to grab it off of the secondary market. Fortunately, I grabbed it, for cover price, and right now you can probably find it for cover price or less, still on the secondary market. But with it being sold out, those prices can start to double and triple and skyrocket just anytime now. I mean, it's already sold out. It just came out, so it's going to be very rare, and it's just a really fascinating, fantastic work. So super happy about that. Oh, I also put in my order for the Frank Miller Daredevil Artist Edition, so I'm super excited about that too. Can't wait to get a hold of that. But anyway, so there you go. In the future, if I do more of these live stream kind of things, hopefully I'll have some people in the chat and I can look and go, oh, hey, whoa, there's Options 3000. Hey, what's up, buddy? Or, answer a question like, what's the name of your graphic novel? Or are you planning on covering so-and-so on Comic Book Dojo? Are you going to talk about Pai Mei the White Hermit? Or what's your favorite Kung Fu film? Whatever. Create that interaction. Hopefully we can do some of that here on YouTube. But anyway, since there's nobody in the chat, it's just me. I'm going to bounce and do some other things I love. But I thought I'd jump on and give you a few things to think about and talk about in the world of comics. So hope you enjoyed that. Till next time, JT McRoberts. Mate! That means stop.